The purpose of this lecture is to review Chapter 2 of the Microsoft Word section of the book Microsoft Office 2010 Introductory Shell Decachment Series. The purpose of this lecture is to go over the creation of a research paper with citations and references. And what we're going to do here is look at how Microsoft Word could be used to create a document that follows the MLA, Modern Language Association of America style, or the APA, American Psychological Association style. This particular project that we're going to be working on follows the MLA rules or style. Now, the things to keep in mind is that in MLA you must use the same font size. In here we're going to be using 12 points Times New Roman. Okay, that's going to be our font. The whole report is going to be double spaced, and the margins will be 1 inch at the top, bottom, left, and right. Also, the first word of a paragraph needs to be indented by 1/2 inch. You'll have a 1/2 inch tab. The page number should appear at the top right hand corner of every page within the margins area, and also to the left of the page number you should have the name of the person's whose report this is. That is, the last name should appear before the number. Another thing to keep in mind is that everything in this report needs to be following the same rules, the same font size, the same font. So when you do footers, when you do bibliography, that all needs to remain on the same format, on the same letter size and font type. Now, just to make sure that your screen looks like mine, make sure that you have the normal style, that you're working with 100% zoom. Now, I just mentioned then that in MLA we're gonna be working with 12 points Times New Roman. Now, instead of having to change that in different places within the report, we're gonna actually tell Microsoft Word to change the style, which right now shows Calibri as the font with 11 points. We're gonna change the style, and we're gonna make the normal to be 12 points Times New Roman. To do that, we're gonna point at the normal style here and do a right click. Then select Modify, and then we're going to change the size of the font to 12 points, and the font itself we're going to change to Times New Roman. So it should read Times New Roman 12 points. I want these changes, the Times New Roman and the 12 points, to be applicable only to this document. I don't want this to be the new template. So if I wanted this to be the new template, I would select over here, but I only want this document. At this point, I just click OK. Another setting that we're going to change is the line spacing and the paragraph spacing. By default, in Microsoft Word, when you create a new document, the spacing in between lines is 1.15. Now we're going to change this to double spacing. To do that, I go to the paragraph group, line and paragraph spacing, click the arrow. Notice that 1.15 is the one that is already selected. I'm going to pick 2. So now everything that I type from this point on is going to be double spaced. MLA rules also say that you should not have extra spacing in between paragraphs. The way you indicate a new paragraph is by tabbing at the beginning of every new paragraph by half an inch. So we're going to go back to the same place. Notice that by default it already says that there is a space after the paragraph. Okay, so we're going to remove the space after the paragraph. If we look at page layout, you can see this clearly in here. It's got space before and space after. If I go back to home and I go back to line spacing and click add space after paragraph, if I go back to page layout, you can see that there's an additional 10 points after the paragraph. That's extra spacing in between paragraphs. We want this to be 0, so I could type 0 here or work with the arrows, or do it the way the book shows you right now, which is to go to the line spacing and then remove the space after paragraph. One extra step that we could take to make sure that any time where the normal style is asked for within the document, we have this be displayed using the double spacing and the no spacing between paragraphs, is to then go back to the style, right click the style, and this time select update normal to match selection. By doing this, we just told Microsoft Word to basically record or keep track of the changes that we had done right here at the insertion point, which was the double spacing and the removing the spacing after the paragraph, to include it as part of the style that we had in the normal style that we had in styles. The next thing that we're going to do in preparing our document for the research paper is to add a header and the page number. So to do that, we're going to click Insert, the Insert tab, look for the group called Header and Footer, click Header. We could pick a predefined header. Instead, we're going to create our own. So we're going to click where it says Edit Header. Our header spans the whole area at the top of the paper. Okay, and it's 1 inch at the top. You cannot see it right now, but when you work with the header, this area right here will show with darker color than the area over here, which is the area for your regular document. This is your working area, this is your header. So when you work with the header, you exclude your working area. When you work with your working area, you exclude your header. They're two separate independent parts of the paper. The next thing that we need to do is to put the insertion point so that it lands all the way against the right margin. Now we could do that by going to Home, then finding Paragraph, and then finding Align Right. Or we could do it directly from the keyboard by pressing Ctrl R. So Ctrl R made the cursor jumped all the way to the right. In this document, the last name of the person writing this report is Marino, so I'm going to type in M-A-R-I-N-O space. Now notice that as we're working with the header and the footer, we have again a contextual tab in here that has to do with this particular object within your document. In the header and footer group, we also have page number. We're going to click page number. Now we need to insert the page number. Now keep this in mind. If you already have a header or a footer, and you're going to be placing the page number within that header or footer. Never ever ever ask for top of page, bottom page, page margins. You need to pick current position. In other words, wherever the cursor is at, which in this case is right here, that's where the number will appear. If you pick any of the other ones on top, you'll end up losing the header that you had already created. So we go to current position, and then pick plain number. And now we got the number to appear on the right hand side. Now go ahead and close the header and footer by clicking here. Another way to close this would be to point and double click in your working area.